Hello and welcome back to the Wedding Capture Co podcast, a podcast for photographers and videographers with me, Chris, and my co-host, Tom.
Hello.
You'll notice that today we're in a little bit of a different spot, which we explain in the podcast, so listen on to find out why we're not in Tom's dining room. But in today's episode, we have a little bit of a catch-up over what we did at Christmas, some of our winter weddings, and we also talk about inquiries for January. We noticed some people are struggling, or perhaps the industry is changing a little bit, and we wanted to talk about maybe some reasons why this is happening, and some sort of mindset changes that you could use to help you either get more inquiries or just deal with it in a little bit of a better way. So yeah, listen on for that.
Don't worry, Chris. My dining room's not had that much of an upgrade. It's not
So you've got flowery wallpaper,
and mood lighting, and
you said you're getting the house done, but
yeah, the builders are still in my house, which is why we are here, and we are not in my dining room. That's not been decorated.
Microphones are all weird light and everything. We're sat with microphones on our laps because we thought it'd be
bizarre
easier to sit
times,
on the sofa, on the comfy chairs.
Yeah. So I think you should probably let you know where we are. For some of you that came on our workshop, you will know that this is the private hire room at Cozy Club in Guildford. That was the home to both of our workshops. And then obviously when we realised that we needed to record today, and currently my hallway has no ceilings and there's plasters and stuff in at home, we probably couldn't record in the next room.
Yeah.
So we have decamped to here to record today's episode, and also this morning we recorded our guest episode, didn't we?
Yes. So our next episode, which will be releasing in 2 weeks' time, is going to be with Hannah McGregor, and we talk a lot about hybrid shooting, obviously. And I mean, we had a lot more to talk about, to be fair, but we went on for quite a while about that. So but I found it really, really interesting. So we spoke to her for a couple of hours about that, and I'm really excited for you guys to hear that.
Yeah, our guest ones always end up being slightly longer. And again, it was just a really lovely conversation. There won't be a lot cut out of it. And I think we did go off on a few tangents, by the way.
Yeah.
But it definitely, if you are someone which is interested...
I don't understand.
Oh, Siri's getting involved. That's recorded our whole thing onto Siri, yeah.
That's crazy. They're listening, see, it's AI.
Yeah,
if you are a photographer that's looking to maybe dabble in video, maybe that's how you found us to learn some more about video, that episode with Hannah I think is definitely going to be for you, and to kind of see how she manages both on the day, predominantly as a solo shooter as well. I found the whole thing massively interesting, and also she's just a ball of energy, isn't she?
Yeah.
Despite having a broken foot, she still managed to
she still came in person and brought the energy. And yeah, both of us. I don't think either of us are really that bothered about doing hybrid, but I think we both found it really interesting in how it works, not only on the day but sort of beforehand as well. So
yeah, and also obviously being a photo and video podcast, if anything she's the perfect guest because she's someone that does both at a wedding. So
yeah,
she really is a walking capture co in kind of
so that'll be in 2 weeks' time, but in the meantime, like, me and you haven't seen each other since
it's been a while,
since
isn't
before
it?
Christmas, and it's now like the 14th of January. Jesus.
Wow. Yeah, so we shot a wedding together, didn't we, on the 23rd of December?
Yeah.
And then both pretty much died a death and have been brought back to life over the last few weeks, and then
so as someone who says I don't do a lot of winter weddings, I ended up doing 3 December weddings. One of them was I think the 18th, and it was that Wednesday, and the day after that I got a sore throat and was like, something's a bit off here, and then on the Friday, because the wedding was on a Wednesday, and on the Friday I was like, I woke up in the morning like a train had hit me. I felt I keep saying this, but the worst I've felt in my adult life. And I was like, I've got 2 weddings in a row on the Saturday and the Sunday. That's the 22nd and 23rd of December. Do I need to get cover? So I asked like a couple of friends, and they were busy. So I thought, I don't want to get a random stranger to do it.
That's the
and
peril of a wedding,
back,
like 2 days before Christmas, isn't it?
Yeah, looking back, I wish I had, because like we had this conversation off pod where is it really that important that it's you doing the thing, doing the filming or the photography? But I'm glad that I powered through, and then so the one I did with you was on the 23rd.
Yeah, and that was the last one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And I think I remember, obviously, that was on a Monday. I remember you texted me whilst you were on your break at dinner, I think, on the wedding that you were at on the Sunday.
Yeah.
Almost like an SOS, like, I am literally like, this is Chris's ghost, I am dead type thing. Like,
I messaged the couple, and I don't normally like to make the couple feel like a bit nervous, but I had to let them know.
Yeah.
Because I felt like if I turned up on that day and not let anyone know I was ill, afterwards it'd been like, it was a bit like quiet and a bit like miserable. But I sort of walked in and I was like, this isn't me normally, but I will be a little bit like RBF today.
Also, as well, I think, like, I'm going to shout them out, like Sam and Sophie, obviously, like, they booked you fairly towards the end of the journey,
Yeah,
quite
it's
close
late.
to the wedding, didn't they? Obviously, where I did their engagement shoot last summer, and then obviously they've been kind of booked in with me for about a year, I guess. So I kind of felt that I've known that we've chatted backwards and stuff, and I don't think they probably could have been a better couple
Yeah,
to kind of understand. They're just super lovely people. The day I think Elle as well had enough stuff packed into it for a wedding that's 2 days before Christmas.
Yeah.
That I always feel like when I feel ill, I need to just keep moving because the second that I stop, I feel worse. And I think there was enough packed into the day that kind of we didn't stop, did we?
No, we didn't. No, and we did quite a lot of like. There was a moment where we were setting up bridesmaids and groomsmen in a room, doing the sofa shot with the drink in, which was really fun. Just things that I wouldn't normally do, even when I was in full health. So
yeah, but also I feel like we've had like a chat, and there is an episode, isn't there, that we did on winter weddings, and how to say kind of a lot of times, a lot of those kind of more outlandish things that you do after dinner and all this and that, or things that kind of you don't get that chance in winter weddings, where they brought, I think, all of that in abundance. Like we said, like confetti outside, they had sparklers in the evening. Like there were so many events kind of packed into that you never would have thought that it was kind of, a wedding shot 2 days after the shortest day of the year.
But also I felt like I couldn't miss it. Like not only were they absolutely lovely, I'm not saying I could miss another wedding, right? But they were lovely. But they also had like the sickest theme. They had like everyone in black, didn't they? So men, women, everyone had to wear black.
Yes,
I was buzzing for that.
A suit for
it was themed black. We both went in tuxes with a black t-shirt underneath, didn't we? So we were looking great, and I'd been looking forward to that for a while. So I think that sort of made me power through as well, because I knew that it was going to be good vibes on that day.
I think sometimes like, when you do power through those, you do pay for it, don't you? Like afterwards, kind of your body, kind of that adrenaline rush to get you through the event, and the second that you stop, like you crash hard though.
Oh yeah, it was. I'm not sure whether it was going to happen anyway, but it was very, very hard to get over. So I got ill on the 20th, I think it was. Yeah. And I was away for New Year's and still feel like coughing and everything like that. That's like 10 days later. And even now, it's the 14th of January, I've got a tight chest. Like it never went, basically. So it was a very weird, strange illness.
No, there's obviously been a lot of like flu-y stuff and COVID and stuff going around. And I honestly don't think that I caught what I got from you, but I had, again, managed to make it home that day. Christmas Day felt okay. Had my family over because my birthday was on Boxing Day. And they were around, kind of, you did normal, we ate food, we played games or whatever. And I remember kind of waving goodbye to my mum and shutting the door, and that was like 7:30. And I think within half an hour, like saying to Ro, like, I really don't feel good. Like, I just feel like I've been hit by a train.
Yeah.
Same as what you said. And then literally went to bed like before 10 o'clock on Boxing Day night. And I didn't get out of bed again to the 28th.
Yeah.
Which for me, like, I never get ill. I never stop. But I think, again, it's been a long time before I've ever felt that rough.
That something hit you that
like
much.
I've normally, maybe because it was timing as well, that it was that time of year that I could afford. But even if I had stuff to do, I wouldn't have got out of bed.
No.
So how you managed to get up, drive yourself to back-to-back weddings and do that, like, fair play. Because on the 27th, 28th, I felt that rough. That say literally, I think I made it down to the kitchen to pour myself a glass of water and went back to bed.
It's having no choice though, which helps. I think it's having no choice. It's been like, if I don't get up tomorrow, like someone's going to miss out on something big, or I've got to send someone random who happens to be available on the 23rd of December.
I think it's that fear, isn't it, as well, that I think sometimes it like shows you kind of how much your body can push through.
Adrenaline, I call it.
Yeah.
I said to Kate, it's the adrenaline taking me on.
You can put that in a pill and sell
once
it.
You're there, Then once you're there, you get into it. And yes, I was feeling it, but I felt the most I felt it was when I sat down for dinner. Because I said, obviously, we were going to sit with the guests for dinner, weren't we? Because they offered us a table and everything. And we were like, well, it's around Christmas, that could be quite nice. And then I messaged them the day before and was, I can't sit with your guests feeling the way I'm feeling because I'm going to want to lay down, basically. And I went away and I was like, just a quiet room on my own. I felt worse then than the rest of the day, sort of thing.
Did you do almost, say, power through, or you kind of put this front on around people? I'm fine. I'm really okay.
But yeah, otherwise, like, it was actually quite nice. Got quite lucky with those winter weddings, I think. One of them, they were all quite good weather-wise, or managed to be quite good weather-wise for most of the day, which is good. Obviously, it's cold, but for the most part, the couples were like, we're happy to go out. Obviously, the one we did on the 23rd, we went out and did a few couple bits. There was some stuff outside, like a little bit of reception drinks, confetti, sparklers, all of that outside. I did a wedding on the on the 18th.
Yes.
And that
Because
was
day
good
after
weather
the
for the
Coaxium
bits.
Christmas party, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. And that was
Yeah.
good weather for the bits that it needed to be. Like we went out, we did couple shots, a few group shots, so that got lots of location shots, things like that. So uh, I feel like as much as winter weddings are difficult, we sort of hit the jackpot with it,
Yeah.
apart from the church on that day.
I think as well, though, like, that there is that, and we spoke about it in our winter wedding episode. There is that kind of knife edge that you walk, that you either get a day which is probably milder in temperature, but just rainy and miserable,
Yeah.
or you get a day which is freezing cold but bright.
Yeah.
And
you're
for
like, "I could go out."
photos and video, you'd rather take the super bright day.
Yeah.
And kind of just hope that
As long as the couple
that
are
nobody
happy.
kind of gets that cold that they turn blue or anything.
Yeah.
But on a drizzly day, you still don't get very great light coming through the windows, but you can't get out either.
Yeah.
And it's those days that are much more of a challenge
Yeah.
than the bright days. But yes, I remember you recounting this church vicar story to me when we were at the wedding, and so I think it's definitely what needs to be aired on the pod.
So the funny thing is, right, because it's most people will know there's a venue in Berkshire that I say most people will know. I think a lot of videographers around this area know. There's a venue in Berkshire, and they have a church within the venue grounds.
Yeah, within the grounds.
Yeah.
But they also offer civil weddings, don't they?
They do,
amongst
yeah. But the guy's known for being a little bit difficult, and there's stories around him and things like that. So when I found out that it was going to be here, be at the church and not one of the civil weddings, I went to sort of say something to the couple, like, "Oh, okay, well, just." But they said to me straight away, just so you know, we know this guy's going to be, he's a bit strange. Let's put it that way. That's what they said. And they were like, he's a bit, you a bit of an acquired taste sort of thing. You need to kill him with kindness. I was like, don't worry, I do that anyway. It's all good. Then turned up on the morning of the wedding. The first thing that the bride did was like apologize and was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry for whatever is going to happen."
So
with
they
the
had
vicar.
their rehearsal at that point.
Yeah, and from the
knew that it was
rehearsal,
gonna be difficult.
he told them like certain things that they weren't allowed to do. When it was like, "What? It's your wedding day.
Yeah.
You should be allowed." I can't remember what it was now, but it was it's like he was telling them at certain points of the ceremony, you have to look this way, do not look at your guests, do not look
That's
at,
absolutely
and it's
crazy.
like, it's your ceremony, like why is he telling you to do stuff like that? So they were like, "Oh, apologies in advance." And I thought, do you know what, like what can he possibly say? We're nice people. I always go in there with completely no judgment at all, and ask where I can stand and be polite about it. At the end of the day, he's there every day, I'm not, so he should be in charge, right? So we get in there, we put our tripods in, and we start marking people up, and he like storms in, and he's like, he tells someone else to tell us to move our tripods. This guy comes up and is like, "Oh, the vicar just told you to move your tripod." So I went to go move it, and I was like, "Can you just let us know where we can stand?" And he was like, "It's like all of this area behind me is out of bounds." It's like, okay, well that's
That
a
at the
bit
front, so the bit behind there, yeah.
And bear in mind, I don't know if you've been to this church, but it is.
Only once, I think.
Have you? Okay,
Yeah.
but it is small.
It's small. It is
really
yeah.
small. So
it's more of a chapel, say, than like a church, isn't it?
So they left us with basically the aisle, and that's
because it
pretty
hasn't
much
even got like, there's literally pews each side, but there's no like down the side space, is there?
No, there isn't. So he was like, "Oh, well," like I was like, "Okay, so that's fine. So I'll just stand like down the aisle when the bride's coming down the aisle, then I move off." And he was like, "Well, I'm going to be in front of the bride when she's walking down the aisle, and when I get halfway down, I want you to move, and like I don't want to see you again for the rest of the ceremony." I was like, "Okay." I was like, "So I won't get anything of the bride coming down the aisle?" And he was like, "Well, no, because I'll be in front of her." So at this point, like, it's a small church, everyone's filtering in, the ceremony's about to start, but at this point there's a lot of people sort of sat around who can hear this conversation.
Yeah.
And I just sort of went, maybe it's a bit petty, but I went, "So just to confirm then,"
knowing that mics are rolling, so you've got you're covering yourself.
The mics weren't rolling, but I knew there were people listening to our conversation at this point. Because the photographer was there as well, Kate was there, and the best man was nearby as well. And I said, just to confirm then, the photographer and us, we're not going to get the bride walking down the aisle. And he went, "No." And at that point,
Just dick move.
I know.
Dick move.
At that point, the best man stepped in and was like, "Have I just heard this correctly? Like they're not allowed to film the bride come down the aisle." He's like, "No, I want them to be out of the way by the time I get to the bottom of the aisle." And the best man went, "I'm sorry, but that's not on." They're like, the bride and groom have not only paid to get married here, they've paid an extra amount to have the videographer, like, because they had to
churches
pay
have
a
this
license.
weird thing, don't they, where they have like you
Yeah.
can take stills, but the second you want video, you have to pay. Like
You have to pay a
I've
license
had this
for it,
at
yeah.
other places in the past where they've made the videographer wait outside, or they've had to pay money to allow them to record in the church, which
Yeah.
I just find seems bonkers.
It's just another
Where
thing.
someone could sit in the pews with their phone on. And that'd be okay,
Yeah.
you know.
So it's like, yeah, not only have they paid for that, but they've also paid the license to have the video there or whatever. And the bride is definitely going to want a shot of her coming down the aisle. It's absolutely non-negotiable. And it was like, it's not like I'll go out there and let her know that she's not going to be happy, and she probably won't walk in at that point if she knows that she's not going to get a shot of it. And the vicar just sort of like had a bit of a moment of silence, and then was like, well, maybe I won't walk in front of them then. And so I had, in the end, we ended up having a few seconds of her. She came about to halfway down the aisle, and then he stepped in our way and shooed us off, basically.
Like a dog.
Yeah, well, literally, yeah. And I asked to mic him up, and he was like, no, I don't want to be mic'd up. And then that was it. Like, and it was just like, you're being like that for the sake of it.
Yeah.
And this is not me saying all vicars are like this, again, I approach everyone with zero judgments, but that was like, everybody knew that he was going to be like that. And then we turned up, it ended up being actually a lot worse in the fact that he saw himself as being more important than the bride.
And I think that's the biggest thing, isn't it? Like we've said as well, like, you know, for all of what we do is that you do leave your ego at the door. You know what you would like sometimes, but you never spoil a couple's experience in order to make, like, if in the end to try and get that photo becomes a massive thing, or to get that clip of something, it's that is the worth it against the experience that the couple are going to have to get that. And it's exactly the same, I think, with all suppliers and you know, celebrants, registrars and vicars are included in that. At that point where for him to walk, there's no reason for him to walk down the aisle in front of her.
It's some sort of
tradition.
tradition.
It's almost like some sort of power trip and the rest of it. Or I love the fact that your argument for it wasn't enough, but the second that a best man steps in and almost does that, because they know that you can't, or I
couldn't push that hard.
You wouldn't want to talk to them like that, because then he could just ban you or whatever. It just makes me sad that that still exists, or also the minority always ruin it for everyone.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's probably the reason that so many vicars get bad names, or there are a lot of you know, photographers and videographers that don't want to work in churches because they don't want to be having those arguments seconds before a wedding. Where, you know, for the most part, there's probably are some registrars that are like that, but because it happens far less, they don't get the rap. And you think, I've probably worked with some lovely vicars over the time that have been really, really giving. And you've probably worked with 3 or 4 like that guy.
Yeah, but that's more of a percentage
you always talk about
than the registrars, isn't it? Because registrars generally now are really good. But like, so you know, our angles are quite limited. It was very difficult wedding and ceremony anyway, to shoot. And then luckily, like, so the groom was a videographer as well.
Which I think that probably massively helped. One, in their conviction of how much they actually want. Or that, you know, have to have those shots, but also kind of in understanding that that's a thing, and it is a thing that happens. It's probably something that he's probably encountered in his career. Well, they came after me.
I think they both do it, but they came up to me afterwards during the couple shoot and went, look, we know that you're probably feeling the anxiety right now of, oh my God, have I got the angles for the ceremony? And it was really difficult. And then we know we're not expecting anything crazy from our ceremony edit. Just do what you can and we'll be happy with it, I promise.
Lovely. That's really nice.
And like for that to happen, because, you know, there are moments where you come out of a ceremony or whatever it is and think, I was so limited, are the couple going to think that it was me? That they came out straight away. I didn't even have to say anything and went, I know it's not going to be the greatest looking thing, but like, just don't worry about it because we're not expecting that.
And I think that's it, is all of us want to give, don't we, the very best to our couples. And in an ideal world, you would be able to get anywhere you want to be in order to get the best angle of it. And, you know, like, again, whether you're working, if I'm working solo or I'm working with, you know, like a second photographer and a videographer, if there's naturally more people in the way, or just the geography of the room, sometimes you just can't get to where you need to be, or you can't get to where you'd like to be without massively blocking all of the guest views. So you always try and have to have that balance of getting the best for the couple, but also giving everybody else in the room the best experience. And I think it's that payoff, isn't it, the whole way through, which kind of makes it sometimes the challenge, or you have to find your ways around things to kind of have that. You compromise and you work with it. But like I said, I couldn't have spoken to the vicar like that. So I'm so glad the best man like stepped in. I said to him later on, mate, like, you've done us a solid there, and you honestly like saved the day a bit, because I couldn't have gone any further than the argument that I put up. And good for
Otherwise
him
it
as
would have been
well.
bad. Yeah.
That it obviously like that. You know, you see a lot of groomsmen, or even groomsmen, maybe more than bridesmaids sometimes, that are there to do the speech and wear the fancy outfit. But to have someone that knows enough of what is important to their friend that they're willing to go to bat for them.
Yeah.
I think that's a real solid
It
testament.
was
And I think maybe is a learning curve going forward, that if you know, for all the reasons that we do like to kind of like our couples and do this and that and have that relationship, is that if you know that you're going to come up with that in the future, is you might even be able to say to a groomsman in the morning, look, if this gets a bit tricky, is there any chance you can have a word with him? I can't be real. I can't be as forceful as you can.
Yeah.
But if you want this to happen, or even the groom will ever say, look, can you stand your ground on it? And they might relent.
Because that's something I would have never asked. But yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe it is something that in the future, if moments like that come up, it can be like, well, you know, you grab a wedding guest or you say one of the important people and say, look, this is the situation. If you'd like to go and talk to them about that, you might have more of a push than I do.
Also known for the fact that you might have to go back there and deal with them again, where the chances of the groom or the best man having to go back and do exactly. If they want to burn that bridge a little bit more and be like, this is what's happening, and be a little bit more rude to them, they maybe can. But if you have to eat that humble pie because you're back there in 2 weeks, you can't really you know go full tilt at the vicar and then have to try and eat the humble pie next week when he won't let you in the church.
But at the same time, if I get an inquiry for that again, I know exactly what to say to the couple.
Yeah.
Like before, I was kind of like, well, yeah, I've heard of this guy. I know he might be a bit difficult sometimes.
Yeah.
Now I'm gonna be that right. He's gonna tell you can't walk down the aisle.
Let me show you some footage of how your wedding's going to play out. Yeah.
But no, the rest of the wedding was so easy. Again, a couple were lovely. They're videographers, and it's proper nice. But I thought I'd tell that story just because I love a good wedding story.
Do you find the pressure more when you're shooting for another supplier?
No, I don't know. I can't tell you why. I just don't. I feel like he loved our work, and that's all that really matters, because you know I feel confident in what we produce from that day that they're going to love it. So
I always find it really difficult. Like, obviously, like we speak about our friend Josh on the podcast. I shot his wedding 2 years ago, and I think there's always that kind of fine level of being absolutely flattered that someone that maybe does have a more educated eye or know what they do ask you.
Yeah.
Which means they obviously trust your work. But I still think there's still that low level of like, even more so, like I have to deliver. Like there can't be any kind of weakness in this gallery because because it's someone that you know, or someone that you really want to prove yourself as a creative.
It's more pressure if it's someone you know.
Do you think?
Yeah.
It's not as much what they do. It's who they are.
You know, I knew he was a videographer, and I follow him on Instagram, but I've never spoken to him outside of that like inquiry and that process. But I guess if it's someone who's my friend and a videographer, maybe that'd been more pressure because he's a mate of mine as well. If you mess that up, it's like
we're in the friendship there. But I think it's kind of interesting to know. I know some people obviously really take a lot of, you know, you get those wedding nerves anyway. But do you find them even more when it's someone like?
I just think they were so chill and so lovely that it did it took away all of that. It would have been different if they sent me a list of like, or some of their own videos that they wanted to be like.
This is how we shoot. This is what we want our film to look like.
They were just so casual, and because on the pre-wedding call, they're just like, we know how that works. We'll sort that out for you. Oh, don't worry. Speeches will never happen without you because we're videographers.
Did he mic himself up? You just handed him the mic. And
he knew exactly what. Do you know what I mean? Like, and if anything, I think I'd rather do that 30 times than non-video.
I think people definitely understand more, don't they? Like say, like, and it sounds such a cliche thing, but you never get problems with your food at another supplier's wedding, do you?
Yeah, 100%,
or like, or you never get that thing where
they brought us double the amount of food. They brought us like the groom came and brought us 2 mains.
Oh wow!
After we'd already been given mains by the venue, the groom came and was like, "Oh, there's some left over." That's the first time it's ever happened to me in 270 odd weddings.
That's mad. Yeah. I do find that I think it's like those things that you said, and having to hide the mic because they're going to start speeches without you and stuff. Like, I think it's those little things that when you get people that have dealt with those same worries before, they just don't happen.
Yeah.
At other suppliers' weddings.
Yeah. So I actually think it's better, because they were so understanding and nothing would have happened without us because they were so on it with that sort of thing. So
good.
Loved it.
Amazing. So I think that's it. We're pretty much all caught up now, aren't we? That's kind of how kind of what we've been up to over Christmas. Again, sadly, I didn't get too much of that kind of rest that maybe I wanted because I did. I laid in bed, but obviously was ill. But, we spoke about in our last episode, didn't we, about kind of the things that we wanted to do to get ready for the 2025 season. And I was hoping that some of those would have been got to in those couple of days in between Christmas and New Year. And maybe the first few days of the year. But I feel like I've just been trying to dust off the cobwebs, feel human again, and feel that I kind of feel ready enough to get back to work health-wise. It's taken longer than I thought it would.
100%. Yeah, I normally take that time between Christmas and New Year. I know it sounds sad, but we don't really do a lot between that time normally. So to pick out bits and make my sort of end of year reel, or make some like get a backlog of social content for the January rush, and sort of prepare for it in advance. But like you say, because of the illness, and then I went away for New Year's as well, so I ended up going away for a few days around New Year's. None of that happened. I've come back to January just feeling like so far behind,
Yeah.
despite the fact that our last few episodes have been all these things we plan to do for this year and how well last year went and whatever. And then now it's like I feel more behind than ever right now.
I definitely agree with that. I think maybe other years, because I have done it, I've not felt that. But I feel like this year, because I was laid about, I've probably spent more time just sort of scrolling maybe on socials than actually being social and posting stuff. That I feel like there was so much more this year. Like even on like those first couple of days after Christmas, everyone was like, boom, the best of's here. Like they were posting out there like, if you got engaged in 2025, you need to be doing this. And people were like, there's reels and stuff. And I'm like, I can't even think about getting to my desk right now because I feel so rough. But then I felt then, oh, I'm well behind now. Like people are like couples are seeing
That's what makes you feel behind. You open Instagram and everyone's got those.
And I'm just falling like I'm not being seen by anybody because the last thing that I put up was like an automated thing on Christmas Day of me in my dinner suit outside Burning Manor for that wedding that we shot.
Yeah.
But I think maybe other years, because I've been one of those people that's posted, I felt like I've almost kept up. It felt like there were so many more people this year doing those posts. Or maybe I just felt like it was because I didn't do one.
No, I think there was, yeah. But then I felt the same as you. Every time I saw one of those, I was like, I'm not doing enough here.
Yeah.
But what could I do?
But then I feel that maybe is probably a really good way to kind of start the topic for today, now that we've kind of caught up, is that obviously, you know, we're both kind of fairly active within our industries. We speak to other suppliers. We're kind of in those Facebook groups and WhatsApp chats and the rest of it. And I think it has been a slower start to the year inquiry wise for everybody, or for most people, should I say. But I think there's definitely a few people that are bucking the trend. And
we definitely know it's not for everybody, but it does seem for the majority of people, or the general consensus. Even listening to like a couple of podcasts, like the podcasts we listen to, we hear, you know, people who are at the top of their game saying the same thing as what we're saying. So it's not an isolated incident.
And it's not even so much going that, you know, we're expecting that kind of, you know, 1st of January hits and then literally the floodgates open of like a bajillion inquiries. But I just feel like I've come into this year with a good amount of bookings. Not to say things aren't, I'm not panicking, I'm terrified, but with maybe a few less bookings than I would like to have come into or I've come into previous years with, I think it's probably fair to say. And things for me have been slower since January. Normally, I think, you know, inquiries in January and February are normally my busiest months for inquiries, and we're sat here halfway through that first month, and it's been an okay month for inquiries.
Normally you'd expect that. So my situation is a little bit different, where my bookings, I am on track with bookings. I've got the same amount as I usually go into the year with, which is pretty much spot on. Well, I've got 22 out of the 30 that I like to.
So we're in exactly the same place now. I've got 22 out of 30, but normally other years I've gone into the year with, say, 25 or 26.
Yeah, and I guess photography books earlier, so you would probably...
Where this year I've only gone in 22. So I think if I had probably the high 20s, but then other years I've shot 35 or 40 in a year, where this year I am only looking for 30. Yeah. So maybe percentage-wise I am at the same place.
Percentage-wise, yeah.
But it just feels like... It feels like I've had to work a lot harder to get those 22.
That's what I was going to say, yeah. I feel like you've had to work harder, and I feel like I'm getting the inquiries. Like I've actually had a really good month for inquiries so far. We're halfway through, but they're not the inquiries that I would normally get. Yeah. Like I get a lot of, you know, having quite a strong sort of, I say strong brand, as like it sounds a bit big headed, but I guess by the time people contact me,
your website is pretty clear in who you're attracting. Yeah. But maybe that's why inquiries are slower. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. By the time people contact me, it's usually at a point where, you know, they're saying, absolutely love your work. We've seen how holidays you go on. We love holidays too. Can't wait to chat to you about it, all those things. Yeah. I've been getting just a lot more of availability, please, or we want something to capture our day. And it's like, I'm not getting what I usually get. And
you're not getting that real personalised email full of kind of, like enthusiasm. It's much more of a like, are you free?
Yeah,
There's
pretty
no,
much.
Hi, how are you? Or,
So it feels like, and because the sort of bookings are few and far between at the moment, I sort of feel like I have to take them. Yeah. If you know what I mean? Normally I'd be like, if it says, you know, availability please, I'd probably be like, we're not available. Yeah. You know what I mean? But it's come to a point where I've started saying yes to things. I think that's
probably worth saying, is that I've had a couple like that which have come in for 2026, which sitting here with only a couple of bookings for 2026, but I'm not worried about 2026.
No.
It's a whole year away.
No, same. But if it's 2025,
But if someone's messaging me, for this year, anytime really, I think I'd say now, really, and definitely the first 6 to 8 months of the year, I would definitely be kind of thinking, well, if I am free, it's not going to force me into an uncomfortable double.
yeah,
If they seem keen, I might jump on it just to kind of boost that ego, boost the booking numbers a little bit. And that's not a place where you want to be, is it? Like say you want to be kind of fielding inquiries from really excited people that are definitely on brand and kind of at venues that you love. And you never want to feel that you're settling for second best, but when that kind of wave isn't coming through, you kind of feel that you do have to kind of cling to those bits of driftwood a little bit more to keep yourself afloat, don't you?
Yeah, 100%. And I feel like Student Ninja obviously has the statistics of the analytics of and I'm very, again, numbers driven. So I can notice year on year, like the inquiry difference. Even 2024 was much less, was about 10 to 20% less inquiries in 2023. You sort of think, well, I'm posting more on Instagram than ever. My SEO, like my knowledge of SEO is better than ever. My SEO might not be, but my knowledge of it is. I feel like I'm producing better work. So why the inquiry is lower, it just doesn't make any sense.
I think that's probably the biggest conundrum, that something we've both sort of batted back and forth, isn't it? Is that, we both said, and you listen to our end of year, that we both feel that we're making the best work we've ever made.
Yeah.
Again, off the back of the workshops that we did as part of the pod, we're more aware of our brands and our websites than ever before. I feel like, again, like my kind of visibility on Instagram, even despite being ill, I still feel that I've had quite still a steady raft of stuff coming out with stories and posts and the rest of it.
Yeah.
And to be fair though, that's actually doing me okay. Like it's my old faithfuls for inquiries that aren't working. Like most of the stuff that I've had come in have cited Instagram of where they found me, where arguably I feel like, although I'm fairly steady on there, I could be showing up more because I had a period of illness where I wasn't showing up. But word of mouth referrals, venue referrals and SEO always used to account for, there was probably kind of 3/4 of my inquiries, if you like, and it was those things, where at the moment Instagram is probably 70 to 80% of what's coming in. And it's not, people aren't finding me on Google, or they're not, people for some reason those venue referrals aren't there, and I can't work out if people just aren't looking at venues yet, so they're not doing those show rounds for the venue to refer me, or people aren't taking as much stall as what their venue are saying anymore. They want to go and find it themselves on Instagram because it's so easy to. And I don't really know what the answer is, but I'm finding it interesting that things that, from being 10 years into this, things that have always served me really well in the past don't seem to be serving me in quite the same way this year.
Yeah, and maybe that's it. Maybe it's just that things are changing and the way people are shopping is changing, and we kind of have to adapt to that. Obviously, if you're getting a lot more for Instagram, do you need that? Does that mean you just need to focus on that? And
maybe I do need to lean into it more. But then again, you never want to put all your eggs in one basket, do you?
No.
So maybe I do need to kind of still keep up with the, working on the SEO, plugging away on the blogs. But then it's hard to kind of find the time for that when you think, well, I'm not generating anything anyway. It's just kind of trusting the process, I guess, isn't it? Or weathering the storm with it, and then see what does come back in. And maybe within 2 months' time, though, that little pie chart of inquiries will settle itself again back to the kind of the 4 quarters that it used to. But I can only
Instagram.
talk for the first 2 weeks of this year at the moment. Is that Instagram is doing me a solid at the moment.
Maybe it's just the people that are getting engaged more recently are shopping on Instagram, and that's just like a sign of the times.
Or that's
and the
the
way
easy
it's
thing to
be.
do when it's freezing cold. A lot of those early wedding fairs and show round dates haven't happened yet. Is that in that very beginning stage? If you only got a ring put on your finger on Christmas Day, that where's the easiest thing to do is just to sit and scroll Instagram to get your ideas. So
See, the majority of my inquiries, I say just over 50% or just under 50%, comes from referrals. And I find that quite scary because I'm
is that staying? But that's still holding true for you at the moment.
So it's about 50% referrals, 25% Instagram, and then like the rest is just like Google and a couple of other things like friend or whatever. By referral, I mean supplier referral.
Okay.
Normally.
So what other photographers or other videographers?
Photographers, other videographers, and sometimes just a supplier or a venue. And like, as much as I love that is cool. I'm quite, it's like, oh my God, does that mean my Instagram website and everything needs work because my work is coming through other people and not.
I don't think it's as much that at all. And I've always said, because from someone that's had a fairly normally word of mouth or referral business, is that it's where people put their importance. Like if someone says to you that you sit next to somebody every day at work and you come in flashing off your shiny engagement ring after Christmas, and that person, you shot their wedding, and they go, oh my God, before you do anything, the first person you need to book is Chris.
Yeah.
We had him video our wedding. He was amazing and waxes lyrical about you. You trust that person because you sit next to them every freaking day at work.
Yeah.
Where so that it almost is a much more kind of, it's a much more authoritative.
Yeah.
People take much more stall over that.
It's already a warm lead.
Oh, we did find this guy on Instagram who was quite cool.
Yeah. Or he's top of Google.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like I've always said with SEO, I think having great SEO gets you a lot of inquiries, but they're a lot colder than getting referrals. And so you have to work harder to then book them in, because that same person has then probably clicked the top 3 on Google and inquired. Yeah. You're all a similar price. And so it's harder to finally nail that booking.
And it also shows as well then that you know your website does need to be updated and your brand needs to come across strong and quickly.
Yeah.
Because if people, you know, I found that more than ever, I think over the last sort of 6 months or so, is that, you know, before, because my pricing's on my website, a lot of times I'd get an inquiry and most of it was availability driven, and apart from that they wanted to book.
Yeah.
Where now there are a lot more people, like you say, availability please, or can you send a brochure please?
Yeah.
That are playing the field a lot more.
Yeah.
And so you need to be that person that when they jump on that call with you, you know, like they're not whispering going, who's this guy again? Like, who is he? Which one's this? Like, they remember you.
Yeah.
For the right reasons.
Yeah.
So that when they get on a call with 6 Reasons, you've already stood out over the others, you know, before anything's come out of your mouth on that call.
Yeah. And that is it, isn't it? Being memorable, I think, is probably
for
in a
right
world
reasons,
where there's
hopefully.
a lot more. I mean, even video, I can't imagine what it's like for photo, because I've always said there's definitely a lot more photographers competing for the same pool of business.
And particularly in our area.
The video,
as
it's
well.
changing massively as well. There's so much more than even a few years ago. Like post-COVID, the videography like world has boomed, I think.
Yeah.
So there's definitely a lot more competition now than there used to be.
That's it. And all these photographers that are switching to hybrid and now moving over to video, I think that's going to settle it even more. But then again, I suppose there's more couples wanting video than ever. So hopefully, you know, it will level out. And I've always been of the opinion that there's always enough to go round.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I know, and particularly, obviously, like we're both South Coast based, that like Hampshire and the South Coast is one of the biggest hotbeds and most densely populated areas for wedding suppliers that there are. So to kind of stand out sometimes is even harder because there are more of you in that crowd than there are if you're in other areas of the UK.
Okay.
And I'd be interested to know from anybody that listens to this who isn't based kind of south of London, who are maybe kind of further up the country or in some of those venues where the Google searches aren't quite as dense for kind of our areas, whether they're having the same issue.
Yeah. I feel like we're both in the same sort of situation where like it's not panic territory.
No.
Neither of us is going, I need to close up the business, I'm not gonna be able to pay my bills, whatever.
Mainly I just don't freaking
like,
want to as
bookings
well.
wise, again, we have the same target and we're on the same. So I feel like we're both on track. And by the end of this year, I would bet good money that we've reached our 30.
Yeah. I think there's always been years where I don't think I've ever come into a year fully booked.
I don't think you should.
Like I've never, and again, I definitely agree with that you shouldn't, but I've never come into a year fully booked, but I've also never come into a year with a number of bookings and finished the year only shooting the bookings that I came into the year with. I've always picked up weddings throughout that year.
Yeah.
And it's been doing that for the past 10 years now.
Yeah.
So it's not just me kind of, like praying to the moon and dancing around my fingers crossed that will be the same again. It's not a reason to take your foot off the pedal, but I think you've got to remember there are 52 weeks in this year and we're only 2 in.
Yeah.
There are still 50 weeks of this year for things to happen.
Yeah.
And they will, but that's not a reason to take your foot off the pedal. Just keep doing what you're doing. I think that's one of the things that I've put in the notes is that in some ways, don't use it as an excuse to be lazy, but don't start making really rash decisions just yet.
Make small changes that will make big results. At the end of the day, like the things you do now, you're not gonna suddenly get an inquiry if you decide to change up your website or whatever.
Yeah, don't U-turn your brand or half your prices or whatever. But at the same time, I think is one of the other things in terms of action is that we've just spoke about Instagram fairly kind of extensively, saying that it's serving us well. I know that I could probably show up a little bit more than I am at the moment because I've been ill. But at the same time, I'm not going to commit to a 30 reels in 30 days because I know there's not a chance in hell that I can sustain that through the rest of the year. And, it's Instagram sees these things or Meta see these things. And if you start going on a big kind of tirade of this, it's like consistency is the biggest thing in anything that you do. Is you need to find something which is manageable and keep chipping away at it. We've spoke about this loads of times that, if you update to your blog, update your grid post every day, Couples that start to follow you will check back daily to see if you've updated, or if you only do it still 3 times a week, that's when they'll kind of get used to that. Or if you story daily, they'll look for your story, and it's creating something which is manageable, isn't it? And still keep chipping away so you can show up not just now in booking season, then ghost everybody over the summer when you're busy shooting, but create something or get yourself into habits which are manageable.
I've been trying to, for January, I've been trying to story every weekday because I don't really like just having to do that at weekends and post 3 times a week. Because previously I've tried to do it.
Right? We don't get that many weekends off in a year.
Yeah.
So to be able to not have that pressure of story on the weekend and actually have some family time away from the business at this time of year but
you still need to show up in January. Like if anything, it's probably more important to show up in January than it is during the summer. And you need to be constantly posting in a day and age again where Instagram is like you say for you is gotten more of a thing for me as well. I think now it's been a long time where I've been getting a few Instagram inquiries here and there, and inquiries on the website, but quoting Instagram as a place they found me. Now it just seems to be ramping up very quickly in that it's either a referral or it's Instagram, and it's like, okay, well, I only post probably once a week normally, and I've just sort of settled at that. Maybe that's not enough. I don't think that's enough.
But I also think the same thing is that it should always be with Instagram a quality over quantity thing. It should give you post daily. You are, even at this time of year when you're not creating the same, you should have a wealth of content from last year that you probably never posted.
Yeah.
But if you're still trying to go at it daily, you are going to run dry of your best stuff very quickly. And I know that you can recycle content because people are finding you new all the time. They haven't seen what you posted 6 weeks ago. But you still, I would say, posting once a week with solidly good new content is better than you trying to post every day.
Yeah.
And then running out of steam.
Yeah,
before
definitely.
We even get to the end of the month.
Yeah, I've done that a few times where I've gone, I'll do like a few in a row or whatever, or I'll do like a 14 days, because I know I could never do 30.
Yeah, especially if you're editing batches as well. Go, I've got this bank of reels, I just want to get them all out.
Yeah.
And then you post one every other day for like 10 days, then nothing for a month.
Because you've wasted it.
Getting the next edit. And I think like you've made a really valid point as well, kind of amongst our notes, is that it's all very well going, we want to generate inquiries, but inquiries aren't everything.
No.
Like there's, we've had this kind of battle, haven't we, where because our prices are on our site, we probably naturally field less inquiries than people that don't, because the inquiries that we do get are much more nailed on. Where if you're a contact for the brochure, to even get any sense of style or pricing or anything, you have to get in touch, and you're harnessing that. You probably do get a lot more inquiries than we do. But at the same time, you're probably only chasing a similar number of bookings.
Yeah.
So it's making sure that you're not just getting inquiries. Like it might stroke my ego, and I might feel better if I had 30 inquiries when I came home from here.
Yeah.
But if only one of them books, the other 29 are just a waste of my time and my admin.
Yeah.
So it's not just about generating big numbers in your inquiries. It's finding a way into getting people which are on brand, on target, and genuinely engaged with you.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I think it's not all about the inquiries, and I think if anything, it's actually a positive thing if you have lower inquiries and a higher conversion rate, because it means you're doing something right with your branding and the way you're responding to inquiries. And I'm finding that even though I'm getting less inquiries every year, I'm still able to book the same amount of weddings, still able to turn down ones that I don't want to shoot because either I don't think it's a bit of me, or it's too far away, I'm not willing to travel that weekend, or whatever it is. And so it's actually the conversion rate that matters, and how many bookings you're getting at the end of it that matters. So if you think, I'm just not getting inquiries I need, look how many bookings you got and compare it to last year. And also if you've raised your prices, look at the income you're projected to get as well, because it might be that raising your prices has lowered your inquiries, but it's okay because you've raised your prices and you're still earning the same amount of money. And
if those bookings are still coming in, it's like if you're someone which is numbers driven and want the numbers to feel good about you, the higher your conversion number is, that's still a good stat. Like in an ideal world, that you would be so on brand and run such a robust business that you would get 30 inquiries a year, all on different dates, all at places that you love, and they all book. Boom, we've got 30 weddings for the year, done. But it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. No. There's always more popular dates than others, or people that always chuck in a cheeky request for a half day on a Saturday in May or something like that. But that's, in an ideal world, that's where we would get to. You'd have 100% conversion rate,
Yeah.
because you would only get these 30 days in, which are all different, and you're all free for, and they're all people that you want.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work like that. But at the
yeah.
same time, do you want to do the admin on 500 inquiries to only shoot 30 weddings?
Just because you targeted everyone, you don't have the price on your website, you're top of Google, but no one really knows what you shoot or how you shoot it.
You book that prime bank holiday day out, in the first week of the year, but then you literally got 80 more inquiries for it because, there's that, or you never put a story out going, May is now full for me. Do not inquire if you've got a May wedding.
Yeah.
Which some people do. Obviously, if you only take on a set amount of number of weddings in a month, I think, again, if you want content to post on Instagram, say that. And I've seen people that have put almost like a little calendar up for the year going, February, amazing availability, May and June, full, August, one space left.
Yeah.
And that sort of stuff. And then, it gives kind of the client something to read. And also kind of it does show that, they are booking up. Like you do maybe need to get in touch if I'm looking for those particular months.
Yeah.
Sooner rather than later.
The spread this year has been very strange for me as well. I feel like I've got the first 5 months of the year more or less off.
Yeah.
not quite, but like I've only got a handful of weddings in the first 5 months of the year.
I'm in a very similar situation.
And then the next 6 months are just craziness.
I think my first wedding of the year is the end of March, but I only have that wedding in March. I think I have 1 or 2 in April.
Yeah.
And then I think it does start to lift in May, which say is the 5th month of the year.
Yeah.
We're almost halfway through.
Yeah.
But then I've still got at the moment, say 20 weddings. So between then sort of, from the 5th through to, from like the 5th month of May through to sort of the end of October, and those 5 months, I've got somewhere like 20 weddings in that gap.
Yeah.
And I'm probably going to end up taking, hopefully, another 6 or 8.
Yeah.
Realistically, you're not going to get that many people now that are going to book me for a wedding before April.
Yeah.
So it's going to be...
So we're obviously like not experts in the subject, but we will kind of wanted to talk about, I guess it's more of a therapy session for us as well, but the sort of things you can do to help as well, or just things that will sort of turn this into spin it into a positive, or just try and like help people who are feeling the same way manage it, I guess.
Yes.
Is that
I think that's it. Especially again, like we've spoken about this a lot. The fact that we have this podcast to sit and kind of back these ideas and reasoning around from each other, or we've got a community of people around us that we can talk to these things about, massively helps. But if you are someone at the very beginning of your journey, or someone who maybe doesn't have that kind of circle that we do, you may only have 1 or 2 people in the industry to cling to. If they're doing really, really well, that could probably make you feel even worse. Yeah. So I think, we've said, whilst things aren't ideal situation for us right now, we're not panicking just yet. Yeah. And so we're going to try and offer you a little bit of the silver lining in that cloud and kind of, tell you the reasons or things that we're going to try and do to kind of drum up some inquiries and hopefully just weather the storm through until things do kind of get back to whatever normal is.
I think psychologically the best thing you can do is just not listen to what other people are saying. You're your own unique situation, that only you are your brand and your business. And so like on Instagram, if you go on and you see people who are, fully booked for 2025, half booked for 2026, it might not be that you're not as good as them. You instantly think, they're clearly doing something better than I am or whatnot. But I know for a fact that some of these people who are doing that, they're offering big discounts off of their packages, that their packages might be like big, glamorous, expensive ones on their websites. But as soon as you talk to them, it's like, I've had to offer a couple of like 40% off or 30% off but it's all right because the venue's close to me. And you kind of think, so you're not actually booking out at what you...
Or, again, we've spoken about pricing to the end. If someone's booking that much, I would still say they're probably too cheap. And there's a lot of people now, especially if they're booking in 2026 dates, that realise that they're onto a hell of a good deal and trying to get this person locked in before they realise.
There's a reason people are booking
and put their price up. Again, I'm not panicking at all about the fact that my 2026 inquiries are thin on the ground at the moment. No. I'm not even worried about that at the moment. For me, it's about filling those last slots for this year and seeing what the future looks like. But for if an inquiry comes along for 2026, I'm definitely not going to bat it away. But at the same time, I'm not going to be out there, on both knees begging people on Instagram stories to book me for October 26 at the moment.
Yeah, diary's open. Someone book 10% off if you book in January. Yeah,
and I think also maybe, and slightly sadly, this does happen. The most kind of controversial thing that I might say is some of those people might be lying.
Yeah,
there are some people that will always love a bit of bullshit because they think that
makes their business
that
look
scarcity
Yeah.
makes them, I've had 20 inquiries this month. If you weren't one of them, you're going to miss out.
Yeah.
And then in reality, it's not. They're trying to make people like they're the only person that knows how many inquiries they've got is them because they're the only one that looks at their inbox. And it's like, and I don't, and I would never try and do that because I know how damaging that can be when I see that to other people. And I do still, if I scroll, it does make me feel crap about myself. But also, I don't sometimes always subscribe in our industry to think that scarcity will prompt a raft of inquiries.
I think there's a balance though, isn't there, in that you want to educate couples and future couples into booking suppliers with decent time. Because I've had 3 inquiries this month for May this year. And it's like, I want to put a story up and be like, if you're getting married in May next year, please book earlier because, I mean, I'm available. But like, they've obviously either come from other people or they're like, oh, we need a videographer. Oh my God. And again, for August this year, like again, in our WhatsApp groups and things like that, I've seen a lot of inquiries come in for August this year. And you kind of think, nobody's going to be available. Well, not a lot of people are going to be available.
But at the same time, you don't want to get booked because you're the last guy available, do you? You want to get booked because there's someone that, you're one of a few that they really resonate with your style and
but
your
as a
work.
couple, you don't want to book someone because they're the last person available. And to inquire in August, in January, like you kind of want to educate, but at the same time, you don't want to do that scarcity thing of, oh, come on, guys, you need to book now because I'm going to get booked up. So shame on you.
But I think also, like you said, if there's a load of May inquiries around, don't go giving away big discounts just yet. If your wedding's in the next 3 months, I'll do it for half price.
If people are still coming in,
because they're still coming in, they're still there. And if it means you've got to do twice as much as work to get those same weddings just because you're willing to kind of panic on it, but again, and we're saying this from people that have come off the back of, kind of a few, good years or solidly booked years that I know, like I've just paid my tax bill and that hurt. Like it hurt. But I'm already saying, well, do I want to buy that much kit? Do I want to spend too much money at the moment? Until probably 3 or 4 bookings land in that I know that money's coming later in the year or those deposits are going to hit my bank account now. I maybe do want to keep hold of a little bit of that cash that might have got spent on kit or booking a holiday for the other end of the summer. And if you haven't got that, you've got to do what's right for you and your business and your family and whatever. I'm only saying hold your nerve because I've got a little bit of money saved up that if things are really bad, I'm not prepared to give myself away for nothing. I'd rather eat into my savings a little bit.
That's why a lot of people do say like having some money in your savings account will help your business quite a lot because it gives you that confidence to crack on and be like, I am worth this amount. I'm not going to like do some crazy discounts because if you haven't got that, and I say that was maybe a mistake I made when I first went full-time. I went full-time into videography with no savings. So I had to do weddings cheaper than I would have liked for longer than I would have liked, rather than going in with a chunk and being like, well, if I don't get a booking that month, at least I've got something to fall back on.
I always think it's hard as well. Is that, and I always say this is kind of, is that selling yourself to the devil? Is once you publicly advertise a big discount, there's and even if you set it and go, it's for this month only or whatever, if someone sees it and not ready to book, they'll still be cheeky if they think they can save 40% and go, oh, well, I know we've just missed out on your offer or our date doesn't quite fall into when you said, but any chance? And it kind of, I think it can tarnish you for a longer time than doing that. Like, those stores in the end, like does anybody buy a sofa from DFS and pay full money for it? They don't, do they?
Hopefully not, no.
Because one deal ends and then 3 weeks later, the next sale starts. So in the end, that the retail price on that sofa is absolute rubbish. Nobody pays that because the next sale's coming. So if anything, they probably between sale times sell hardly anything.
No.
Because they know the next sale's coming. And if you're a person that runs kind of an offer, you've just come off a Black Friday offer, then you had a January offer, and then they know, the Easter one's probably coming soon, is you might be doing it to yourself.
Devaluing yourself,
Exactly,
You're making that RIP or whatever's on your website.
the photo or video version of DFS.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I've give yourself a social media challenge. We've just come off the back of this, and I'm not saying again do 30 in 30 days or whatever. But if you're quite picky on what you're doing on social media, which I feel like both of us are or have been,
we've been guilty of it in the past for sure.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people doing really well who maybe aren't as picky. And I mean this in the best possible way because I kind of admire it in the fact that they'll put a reel up, it'll be 5 seconds with some text over it, it'll have a ton of likes, it'll be shared everywhere, and you kind of think, well, that's taken them a few minutes to do that. I've just created a reel which has taken me half a day and it's got like 10 likes on it.
And again though, and also particularly with reels, I think more than grid posts, and particularly even more with stories, is they burn bright and they fade quickly.
Yeah.
So if you want to kind of, we've spoke about this and we spoke about this. It's one of the kind of the fundamentals on the workshop is that things that you do for your brand are a long game.
Yeah.
But things that you do to market a lot of times are quite short wins.
Yeah.
So if you have a venue that you want to target, or at the moment, and this is something I think which is I've put in the notes, is that we were saying earlier, maybe a lot of the reason we're not getting inquiries is because people are still looking around venues at the moment, or they haven't found their venues, they're not dripping down to us. If you've got venues that you want to shoot at, cut the middleman out. Be like, here's an awesome wedding I shot at X venue last year. Because if that couple were just doom scrolling, and you've put a post up about this venue, and they go, this venue looks cool, and they book it because they found it on your grid, you'd like to think that you're going to get the call then to then be their photographer or their videographer. So it's not always about selling yourself, but we hold kind of the keys in that, that, we take photos of what the hair lady does. We take photos of what the flower lady does. We take photos of what what the groom's outfit looks like, and the venue probably is the biggest one.
Yeah.
So if you've been or lucky enough to get even one wedding at a venue that you definitely want to go back to,
make a showcase.
It's almost almost make like an Instagram version of a blog post on it.
Yeah.
Because if people aren't doing that Google thing anymore of Googling, X barn in Hampshire,
then they're looking on Instagram.
And they're looking on Instagram, and also at the moment, is you've got to think is your net doesn't have to be that defined at the moment, because the people that are looking, their nets probably aren't defined at the moment.
Yeah.
Everything's probably a possibility for them at the moment because they've only just got engaged. So you can afford to be a bit more broader strokes with what your content.
Yeah.
Because they're looking at everything.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I think, doing reels for what you want to book is definitely an option. BTS things, anything that will just like, I think what people, we talk a lot about, or we have spoken a lot about how at one point people were wanting to see editorial content, right? There's this thing where like everyone was going, oh, editorial, why is it so big? Why is it so big? I think that it's pings back now. And I think people want to see when people want to see that, couples want to see that BTS stuff, and they want to see the realism of it. And that's why content creators are so popular. That's why every photographer, videographer needs to own a 360 camera or Ray-Bans now, because people want to see that, oh, here's what I do on the day, here's behind it. They don't just want to see a couple in a field anymore. And that stuff is more throwaway. And so I feel like when I post that, I'm like, oh, here's one that's like not so polished and nice.
But it's journey, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I think it's incredibly humbling that you can show people a finished picture of a sunset in a cornfield, and even like in their kind of humble, kind of self might go, oh, we would never look like that, or oh, we could never get that.
Yeah.
But when you see that clip first from the 360 of, the photographer just going, stand there, look cute,
look at
and they're
each
going,
other.
what, me, all right, and kind of see the people maybe not being as serene and beautiful as
it seemed in
the
the photo. Yeah.
and then you see that Instagram versus reality thing.
Yeah.
It makes it feel a lot more achievable, doesn't it? And I think we didn't talk about it, obviously, when we spoke about that last wedding of the year, but that was the first wedding that I took my metas to, and I used them for, and I've got the banks, it's only because I haven't edited the gallery yet that I don't want to put the content out with, because I haven't edited the finished images that come from those moments.
Yeah.
But it was great. Like, for everything that I thought they would be, the convenience of not having to have a camera on my thing, or never being mindful about taking my phone out of my pocket and trying to do both, to literally just reach up, pinch a button on the side of my face.
And you're recording, job done.
And I'm recording, and I did the confetti. I did they had confetti cannons during the first dance, didn't they? Like a little bit of like some of the aisle walk as they came back down the aisle. And I'm looking at the footage, and it's like, because I do shoot off the screen, it's like, that BTS there is everything that I've wanted to make.
Yeah.
And I've done it there, and that's
so much content in
just
one.
seeing those 6 or 8 clips that I've got. I could market with every single one of those. Yeah.
And how many reels is that really? You don't need to put them all in one. No. So it's like literally like every time you record and then take photos, that's another reel that you can make and sort of schedule down the line, sort of thing.
Yeah.
I know that's like really important, I think, is content is more throwaway now. So don't necessarily feel like you've just got to post your best few films for the year. Like there's other things you can post, and it's not going to ruin your engagement. I'm sort of talking to myself a little bit here as well, but you can post things that you just is a few seconds throwaway reel, and it's all going to be advertising, especially if it's targeted at a venue, supplier, that kind of thing.
And I think we spoke in the past, haven't we, quite a bit sometimes, that in photo maybe it's easier to go, here are my top 10 detail shots from last year, and you can do that, where maybe that's harder to do in video. But I think now, like again, reels don't have to be a minute long. They don't have to be 90 seconds long. They could literally be one moment from a day.
Yeah.
Text at the start, kind of going, here's a cool moment from this.
Yeah.
And you show it. And if anything, the shorter it is, the easier it is to hold the people who are watching its attention.
And they watch it again and again.
And then it goes, you might get 3 or 4 views out of one person.
Yeah.
So your stats on it are going to do good.
Yeah.
And that's it. So, and you're still kind of curating in that moment, because there might have been loads of other parts of the day which don't apply to the point you're trying to make.
Yeah.
But if that 10 seconds is good, then don't think that you can't use it as content or the rest of it's going to be damaging. Instead, just kind of hone it in.
I just don't understand what gets engagement sometimes. Like,
Does anybody?
No, but I got that viral TikTok, didn't I? I say viral. It got 1.4 million views.
I'd say it's pretty viral.
Yeah. So, but that came from, basically this couple had singing waiters, right?
Yes.
And they didn't actually let us know when they let us know roughly when they were going to do it, but we were caught by surprise from it. So we were caught by surprise. The photographer was caught by surprise. The guy did the falling over thing, and the groom went to rush over and help him
Because the groom didn't know that the bride had booked them, and
the bride had
that's it.
booked, and the groom didn't know. I was not filming. We had a camera in the corner that I just pressed record on. I'll come back to that in a bit.
Yeah.
And that was the one that caught it. And I was like, this moment is so funny because so funny, but like the groom was so lovely, and the fact he went over and was genuinely trying to help the guy. And when he turned around, the guy then got up and started singing behind him. The groom turns around and is like, oh my God.
But your camera's in the perfect place as well, isn't it?
Yeah. But I posted that on TikTok and not Instagram because, in my opinion, it was just shot terribly. I missed the moment. Like, it was like even the reaction shot of like the bride laughing was shaky because I think Kate was there and she just turned the camera on and just lifted the camera up straight away and got a cracking shot. But I just thought it's not good enough for my Instagram, and then posted on TikTok and it just went crazy. And I was like, but that's something that I posted on TikTok because it's not good enough for Instagram, and it's now gone like viral.
But I think there's even that separation between, if you post a finished film or a finished highlight with the audio and the cinematic changes, people see that as a finished, polished article and expect that to be the benchmark of your work. Yeah. Where the second that something's in a reel and it looks different instantly, that maybe it doesn't need to be graded quite the same, or that it is kind of a bit more shakily shot, is people now are used to seeing content like that, because there's stuff being photographed on people's phones all the time. Yeah. And I don't think they instantly, I watched that reel and didn't go, well, that's a bit shaky, or maybe, and I didn't take it as a knock on your quality, because you're so involved in what the content of it is that you don't look at the grading. But when I watched your Como film, that's all about expecting it the rich colours and the narrative and the rest of it. Yeah. But that's just a cool moment in itself. Yeah. Like, I think you can, again, and I've been guilty of this in the past, is you can care too much.
You can, yeah.
You can care too much, then if you did, you'd never post anything.
I spoke to a guy who's got like over 5,000 followers, and he created this like year in review video. It was amazing. It had bits like really emotional or like, meaningful bits of speeches in the background. He'd clearly gone through every wedding and picked like just the best stuff. And it must have taken so long. He had like 30 likes. Yeah. And I kind of like, I messaged him about it, just saying, I'll see this video. It was good. He was like, if I'm honest, it wasn't worth it, mate. It took me so long and I got nothing, no engagement, nothing. And it's like, that stuff doesn't matter anymore. We used to create show reels at the end of the year. Don't bother. No.
Or if you're going to do them, I think their places on your website when people are in the frame of mind, they look and they want that bigger look.
They want to see a
couple, where I think at the moment it's Instagram. Yeah, again, it's maybe more because of TikTok and the rest of it. It's people are just about quick wins. Yeah. So don't feel that polish needs to be there on literally everything. Yeah. There was the guy, and I'm sure you know his name. You met him at Coda, the guy that got his hair caught on fire at the wedding, videographer. I've seen that clip pop up in loads of different places, and I'm sure it's going to typecast him for however long now. Guy, though, genuinely. But again, it's probably shot on his second camera at the back or whatever. I don't look at that and go, "Oh, that orange was a bit, because it wasn't color graded well." The thing's hilarious. Yeah. And it probably has got him work.
Probably.
From people knowing that he's that videographer with an afro who got his hair on fire.
That's how he got introduced to me at Coda. Yeah.
but isn't how those things happen? And it's like not taking yourself too seriously. He might be the most editorial, like, emotive videographer around, but everyone's remember him as the funny guy that got his hair alight. And it's sometimes I think that's it. It's not saying that you have to actively make a fool of yourself if that's not your brand, but I think you can definitely kind of overthink the kind of the polish and the professionalism level, especially in a world that's going to get flooded with content creation at weddings more and more now, is that you're only going to see more phone content or ungraded content appear
Yeah.
on socials now as well. So sometimes even the fact that it's shot on a camera alone is going to make it look a level up than
Yeah, true.
what it is.
Like if you're someone that, gets changed to do an Instagram story or only takes
Yeah.
selfies with their camera in like posh hotels, then someone captures BTS of you stacking it while you're trying to film
Yeah.
a couple. Like that's still like, you might think, oh yeah, but that's not serious. Like my videos are quite like somber and serious and whatever. But actually, that could be the thing that makes a couple think either it's quite a
Also,
laugh.
he looks human.
Yeah, yeah.
He looks
and
human.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I think that if we get these kind of like, you do too good of a branding job and you're there in your suit jacket, like in the studio, like looking or whatever, people think like, oh, they're a bit high end for me. Oh, that might be a bit too posh. Or he looks a bit stiff. Like, I'm not sure we can have a laugh with him. Or, oh, we're looking for a really fun film. Like, all that branding's got to match, hasn't it? Kind of what you show. And sometimes just, or even in times when you've met somebody and go, oh my God, like they were nothing in person like I thought they were going to be, because I've only seen them on telly or online or whatever. And you want to build up an image in your head of what you expect somebody to be.
Yeah, you don't necessarily need to come on your story and be the perfect version of yourself.
Not at all. You really don't. Or sometimes I think it's if you're comfortable enough to embrace that little bit of kind of imperfection or a bit of real life on your stories, it kind of humbles you, I think. And you can go too far, like you definitely don't need to be sat in the toilet while you're doing your stories, but just a little bit of like calamity or a bit of this happened to me today.
Yeah, a bit of realism.
Yeah,
I think that's the theme of it, isn't it? That people want realism from social media now.
And you don't need to be, even this time of year, you don't have to be still shooting loads of weddings or doing that, or it can just be I'm just editing this and I found this along the way, or it's a quiet time of year, so I'm doing this. Like, do a time lapse of yourself spring cleaning your office. Yeah. It's like those things sometimes. Like I still talk about, I think it was not last year but the year before, is that the story that I had that had the most engagement was me opening the car door on my car and there being like 50 Lucasade sport bottles in the footwell behind, and it was like, tell me you're a photographer in wedding season without telling me. That story, it wasn't even a reel, I wish I had made it to a reel now, got more replies from couples, suppliers and anything else than any work that I posted that year.
I think that would have been a good reel. I think people would have shared it because it's very shareable, isn't it? Very
I wish I got like 100 more bottles, they all flooded out as I opened the door. But it's those things, isn't it? And it kind of speaks to not just your couples think it's funny, like other suppliers sympathise with it. But I could have gone, I don't want to show people the state of my car.
Yeah.
Like the fact that I drink that much Lucasade Sport in 3 months as well. But
everyone can, suppliers can relate it, and couples a bit like it's an insight into your job and your personality.
Yeah, and literally, I think in today's age, everything is content as well.
Don't be afraid to post again is one big thing, is that a lot of the time, someone said this to me quite recently in the last couple of years, is that you would have posted your best things probably over summer when those weddings were happening, and you were amazed by them. You're like, oh yeah, I'm going to go, I'm going to post this on Instagram when I get home. You post it, it's done its engagement circle, it's done, it's left in the past now. And now in January, February, March, when you've got very little to post, just post it again.
And also, like we've said as well, it's hopefully, because of the time of year, new couples are getting engaged, and people that are starting to follow you now weren't looking at your post last summer, or they won't scroll back that far to find that post from last summer. And, I've said in our notes as well, is to look into your deeper archive. Like, I know that I'm like thoroughly guilty of it, is that whilst I'm shooting weddings, I'm really good at posting stuff. But most of the time I'm shooting the wedding on the weekend, I'm sneak peeking it that day.
Yeah.
And then on the Tuesday or the Wednesday, I'm posting those 10 sneak peeks in a carousel that I literally gave the couple 2 days ago. Yeah. And then because I don't do the full edit for like another 6 weeks, by then I've moved on and I'm still shooting more weddings that I'm posting sneak peeks from. So there's probably another, 700-800 pictures in their gallery full of perfectly good moments or other moments around the sneak peeks that I shared
that you didn't post.
The end, I just didn't get to.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have time. And now that I'm in the quieter times of the season, is dig back through that archive, and there might be a wedding that you shot in March last year that had some absolute belters in it that you didn't make the sneak peeks.
Yeah.
That you've got, and I'm sure you've used. Like, if you make that one reel, or that trailer straight after a wedding film, it's probably got like the confetti, the thing, like it's got all the big hitters in it, and all those little single moments are probably in those films. And you're sat there thinking, oh, I don't have anything to post, I haven't got that. It's like almost definitely you have, definitely, and you've got time to look for them as well.
I've been doing a lot of that. Every year I go through and I take clips out of the folders that they're actually in the, like, on the Finder or whatever, and I put them onto, I've got a hard drive now which is best of, basically.
Nice.
Best of 22, best of 23, best of 24, and that kind of thing. And now I've got, like, basically all the best clips I've taken in the last few years.
But it also means then that,
put
if
into
you end
Reels.
up, you start, if you're a recommended supplier at a venue and you get invited to a showcase,
Yeah.
or whatever, it means that you don't have to go, I'm only going to show these set films from this place. You could literally just have your screen up, stick on your best of last year, and just let it keep going around. Because people stop in front of your stand for like a minute or 2 minutes, maybe 5 if you have a chat with them.
Yeah, they're not
and
gonna
they go
watch
on
everything.
again.
Yeah.
So as long as that best of is more than that long, it cycles a lot quicker, and you're only showing people your best content. Or it means then that you haven't got to stand there and go, oh, I've got to put all this together just for this 3 hour. Isn't fair?
It's just an infinite source for Reels, though.
Yeah.
Because it means, like, I've got 3 years worth of bridesmaid reactions to Bride, which now I can put them all into a reel if I really wanted to.
Yeah. Quite quickly as well.
Yeah.
So even if you do put the super polishing together and it only gets 30 likes, you don't think, oh, I've wasted days trawling that archive for that.
No, because all it is it's already there on my hard drive. It does take days to do it, to get all that footage and transfer
But you
it
do it
and
once
find
a
the
year.
best fits. But do it once a year, and then that's me sorted for Reels for the year.
Not when you can't, you jump off a client call at 7 in the evening and go, oh shit, I haven't posted to Instagram today. What am I going to post?
Quick, go back a year.
I'm going to sit there and stare at 40 folders for all the weddings I did last year. Click on a random one. Is there a moment in here? There's no strategy in that, but at least you've got this stuff ready, plucked.
Yeah.
It makes it a lot easier. And I think hopefully maybe, we spoke about Instagram a lot, that I feel, but I feel at this time of year, maybe that's what's working for us, is that, by doing that best of as well, put those clips on your website.
Yeah.
There's always work to be done. If you're not getting that many SEO inquiries, maybe find out why. Go into those keywords. Maybe you did a big update of images or videos and you didn't alt tag any of them. I think it's those little things that can make a big difference.
But I think the reason we've probably spoken about Instagram is because while your website is the slow cooker, Instagram is probably, if you're struggling with inquiries now, it's probably the ready meal. Is that you can get it done quickly. Yeah. And you're more likely to start generating interest.
It will
quickly.
generate results as well. I think that's the main thing, is that we've both seen that, even for me, maybe saying that we both feel that we could show up more. Yeah. We're still getting a lot of traction from Instagram at the moment. And I think there's a lot of people going, oh, Instagram's dead. And I think it's far from that.
I don't think it's dead.
I really think it's not at all. And also in the wider world, for 17-year-olds making TikToks now, maybe they have moved on. But people in their 20s and 30s and 40s that are planning their weddings,
I'm still on it. Yeah,
I think so. Pinterest is still alive and well. We've not even touched on that at
really?
all. It is still alive and well, and a lot of people still use that as their go-to mood boarding place and the rest of it.
Yeah.
And there's some people, maybe even us, going, "Oh, that's very 2018."
Yeah.
But if you lent into that, I think you would still see solid results from updating that.
Yeah.
Like, it only fell off the bottom of the top 3 search engines, I think, last year because TikTok took over.
Yeah.
But up to before that, Google, YouTube, Pinterest were the 3 biggest search engines in the world.
Oh, interesting. I find YouTube doesn't help as much as it used to for me anymore. I used to upload to YouTube, put it as public, and then if you put like the venue name in the title, I used to get quite a lot of inquiries from it, just falling off a cliff.
But don't you think that we spoke about this with blogging as well, though, is that, even 3 or 4 years ago, if someone found a venue they kind of liked, they would go to Google and type in X venue, whatever.
Yeah.
And then that would go into Google, and then that might rank then and give you, oh, here's some YouTube videos we found from this venue. Here's the blog post we found from this venue. People are going to Instagram now and typing that venue into Instagram or to TikTok.
Yeah.
And so maybe that's what we were saying earlier about doing those venue carousels or reels or whatever target of those things, is people are using Instagram or Pinterest as a search engine instead.
Yeah.
So maybe that's where those places need to be, where I think you need blogging as a backup or as a kind of reaffirming. But again, if you're looking for quick wins, I think it's those things that you need to be doing. Yeah.
I think, like, to round it up, like, just, it might be a little bit strange, but just keep on doing what you're doing, and keep on, there's always going to be room for change, and you can do little bits, but don't do anything drastic. Don't start halving your prices. I think that's the main thing, is keep your cool. Because those things, like you said, we've spoken about doing too many sales and things like that, or maybe just changing your whole brand because you think that you should be doing this because it's more popular now. In the long run, that's always going to do more harm than good. At the moment, it's just about like nailing what you're doing.
Also, as well, people can smell desperation.
Yeah.
Like when you get like a big shop, like when Wilkinson's went under or whatever, and you start to see these ripples on the news, and people go, "Oh, that's a sinking ship."
Yeah.
If you were a photographer that was always offering a deal for this or a discount for that,
yeah,
quite quickly by following that person and their sponsored ad came up going, oh, I'm doing crazy deals, you'd start to think, well, what's the catch? Why are they so desperate for deals? I'm not saying that you want to sound so aloof that you never book anyone, but in the end, I think you can, if you get from the copy that you use or the whatever, you come across desperate. And particularly if someone's wedding's over a year away, they think, well, if they're that desperate now, are they still going to be in business by the time our wedding comes round?
Yeah.
So again, keep your cool, reassert your authority that you have been doing this for however long you've been doing it. You know what you're talking about, and you will be here for the long run.
Also, just find your thing as well. Like I feel like we all have a little bit of a thing. Like,
everyone does, definitely.
Yeah, we're in, we're all different in this space. We're all producing similar stuff, but we all have something that will make us tick in terms of what we like. You like a lot of like detail stuff and unique detail stuff. Yes. I know that you like, and more intimate things like hands rather than faces and things like that.
There's always at least, normally at this time of year and time of the year, there's normally 2 or 3 hands carousels. Yeah. I'm probably due a hands carousel actually on my thing, but yeah.
I know someone that's posting tons and tons of like 360 BTS, James Pierce. I spoke about him off pod. He's posting loads of stuff and like getting engagement on it. And that's kind of like his thing now on Instagram is what I see. He's just constantly posting it, and that's clearly generating
again, look at
inquiries.
Like going back, it's probably a throwback now, but the dude who loves trains with the GoPro on his head, like he became a thing in the end, and there you knew it was him or what it was going to be, and it's like, again, just find your thing or your way into something. You don't just have to follow the crowd.
Yeah.
There is always room out there to do something and kind of become known for that, or to lean into what you love as well. Because if you can talk passionately about something, that I think comes across so much more infectiously genuine than you trying to follow a trend to get bookings.
100%, yeah. Be authentically you. Don't try and like follow anything because you think, oh, maybe I'm not getting bookings because I don't do this, and then you start doing it and realize it's not.
Or do something that's not you, and then you end up with a load of bookings that you don't want because they're not you. Again, you've got the numbers, you've got the cash, but you're in for a year of unhappiness and being someone that you're not.
I think this amazing venue I filmed at, you actually hate it and you never want to go there, but you end up getting loads of bookings for it.
And that's how people end up get stuck in ruts then, or end up wanting to leave the industry because they've gone too far down a path. Of that, like you said, look at 2019. You spoke about that on with the guys that you've spoken on our podcast as well. Is that you get to a point where that was probably your busiest year. You shot more weddings in that year than any other year. But you're probably the most unhappiest.
Definitely. Yeah.
And again, we've all got bills to pay. I know that. So in some ways, we can't have a year where we go, I had a dream year, and you're leaving on beans on toast because you've only shot 10 weddings. But there's a lot to be said, I think, for that. Or sometimes having a year that might be a growth year in order to have a bumper year in the future, that sometimes you do need to leave certain things behind in order to kind of to push on.
Yeah. I sometimes wonder whether if one year I just decided to take 25 and take 5 less for a year, whether I'd have more time then to market and be able to charge more the next year. And it maybe, but then I feel like maybe that was last year because I did a lot less last year and was able to.
But by shedding the commercial work and stuff like that
kind of thing.
But again, to take one step back almost in a year to take 2 steps forward the following year. And as long as you got enough to survive and to live on what you need, every year doesn't need to be your best year ever as well, I think. And I think sometimes Instagram or social media in general could always be that you need to be hustling and growing fast and rising this. And not every year has to be like that. I think if you've got other stuff going on in your life that year, it's okay to have a quieter year, but that's almost a retaining year. You're not going backwards. You're maybe just not diving
You're
forwards.
working on the slow cooker stuff. And that's what I feel like I've been doing. Like I have a analytics spreadsheet and it has my average booking cost. It's been like trickling up. And this year it's gone up quite a bit because last year I had a lot more time to focus on, getting that work out there and producing the content, like really good
So
quality.
although you lost the money in one hand by ditching off YouTube and doing less commercial work stuff, you definitely said that had a financial implication on your turnover figure. But now looking into this year, the average spend
has made it back.
So again, it is a long game, isn't it?
But so I know it's not been like a particularly structured or like I don't know what to say. It's hard to really put a finger on what's happening and how you can sort of improve it. But we just wanted to say sort of our thoughts on what's been happening with us. We're both in a situation where it's that unease, I think, of the things that used to work aren't working. Maybe I feel like there's a lot of people out there feeling the same way. We wanted to address it, because as much as we address the positive things, we want to also relate to you guys and say what we're going through as well. So
and just to make out that, you know, we are all on a journey as well, and just because we sit here and have these chats, it doesn't mean that we have all the answers, or that our businesses are flourishing and they're always kind of beds of roses, because they're not. We do have struggles, and as much as sometimes those chats happen off camera as well, I think it's important that they do happen, you know, in front of you, and know that you're not alone, and that we're having these struggles too. But it still means that, you know, we are kind of still pushing forward. We're still loving what we're doing, and we only probably worry about it because we want better.
Oh, definitely. I feel like this is a topic me and you talk about a lot off camera.
Definitely.
And it's never really like it goes anywhere in terms of this is a definitive answer to improve your inquiry. But it's something that we talk about, and we know that we have conversations with other photographers.
And I think it's important that you do have those conversations. If you've got people around you, is don't kind of filter it, because I know there's times that, particularly over kind of the course of the summers, where we kind of pull each other up at different moments. There might be a time where I'm having an absolute mare and you're absolutely winning, or the other time that you turn up to my house and go, I'm done, and I'm like, oh, actually I'm feeling all right at the moment, and we do kind of pull each other up and grab up, or definitely. It gives you hope that the industry is not dying, and you know, people are still getting married, is that, you know, is kind of using it in a positive way, because you're my friend, or we constantly have these talks that, you know, that probably, you know, we see each other once every few weeks to record, is that those things could change literally in the matter of a couple of weeks.
And we know each other's businesses as well, and what we want from our businesses.
And again, as much as we do charge similar money, we're looking at chasing similar numbers, there are still quite some big differences in our businesses as well. So it's not as if we're carbon copies of each other. And so, you know, the things that always work for you are going to work for me. And sometimes you can be too close to your business as well, is that you can't see that what you're doing is you're on a path going, mate, you're just trying too hard. But sometimes it's really me to really see it for yours, or you to see it for mine. And kind of having someone just to kind of keep you accountable. To go, look, if I'm doing something and you think that's a terrible idea, please just tell me.
And just to be comfortable around as well, and just be like, because I know, like, I posted something on Instagram and you were like, it's probably the wrong time to post it on Instagram. It's a bit of a weird one, but like, that's kind of what you need, is like someone to be like, okay, well, I saw that. Is that really on brand? I'm not really sure. Like, not necessarily like for people that haven't asked for it, but when you're just having conversations like this, and you know each other's brand as much as we do,
definitely,
it's nice to have people around you who know you like that.
Definitely.
But again, this is a conversation that we have off camera as well, so we can talk about this forever, can't we? So,
we definitely could go round and round in circles about this conversation for ages. Hopefully there's been enough in that kind of has given you a reason that we're definitely, maybe if you're feeling the way that we are, or the way that maybe things aren't as flourishing and kind of flooding in as much as you hoped they would, that you're not alone in that. And again, reach out to us. Like, you know, I'm not saying we definitely don't have all the answers. We've offered you most of our solutions over the course of the episode. But again, if you don't have that circle of friends and just want someone to kind of talk to or bounce some things off of, or even maybe you're you know, drowning in bookings and you have some answers that you want to share with us, that'd
be nice. If you have the secret sauce, let us know.
Appreciated. But we can't guarantee that we won't share the love in the next episode. So hopefully, again, you have a good January. Keep an eye out for the next episode with Hannah that will drop in 2 weeks' time. Because that is a great chat. It's a long chat, but a really good chat.
Good one,
And I think that'll be really, really interesting if you're looking at adding hybrid into your kind of offerings later in the year.
Definitely.
And it's good to be back.
It's good to be back.
Next time we'll be here again with Hannah, but then the week after that, hopefully we'll be back in my house and it will be
back in our usual setting.
And that's it. We're back in the blue dining room.
Good old Max in the background.
From there, that's it, barking away.
No, but it's been good. I'm looking forward to seeing what the rest of January holds, and hopefully we can give an update on this.
Hopefully it'll all have a happy
in a month's time.
ending.
You're off on holiday again anyway, so
I am. So the next episode goes out, I'll be back in sunny Florida. So
you're back fully relaxed and ready to go.
I don't know about that, but maybe it'd be good.
Amazing. Well, thanks for listening. We'll see you next one.